We're ice fishing on Nipissing, just like last week. So I tried a spot earlier today, maybe about 50 yards from where I am right now. Didn't have any bites until I just about got all my stuff packed up. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I always pack my dead stick rod the last, just in case there's some sort of, last minute bite going down. And sure enough, a perch showed up and started pulling on my rod there, and I reeled him up. He's only about 6 inches, but then I sat for about 4 more minutes just to see if he was a part of a school, but I didn't see any more action. So then I moved over maybe 50 yards to where I am right now, where at one point in my life I did catch a 20-inch walleye, or at least that's what my GPS says. Welcome to the party, Russell. Welcome to the party, Willie Brown. Yeah, I mean, it was good to be able to say that I caught something, but I'm hoping that this new spot is going to be sweet, but I haven't seen much action yet. Bill D, Jeff Emo. Yeah, it's been a little slow today, but I'm hoping it's gonna come around. So I'm just gonna check my lines here. Turn the camera around for you for a second. So on my dead stick, I'm actually gonna change it. So I've got this little doodad up top, and then I've got this little lure down bottom. This one had some sort of glow stick that goes in it. I ran out of glow sticks, but it's got a rattle in it. But I think I'm gonna go with something else. I'll see. Oh no. That always sucks when a fish gets away. How close was he to the hole before he got off the line? So I'm gonna turn down the power on the brightness on the Striker 4. I think that was the solution. So I'm gonna change my lure here. What's going on, Mr. Freeze? Thanks for the good wishes there, WH. Yeah, I had something on earlier today. And it was funny because I wasn't catching anything on small lures, and then I got out this huge spoon, like a Williams wobbler spoon, and I threw it on with a minnow on it. Next thing you know, boom, some kind of fish. It didn't feel that big though. I'd probably say it was either a small wally or medium-sized perch. So I'm out in the clam today because I wanted to move around a little. I do like the big hut, but I also really like fishing in my clam. So here I am. So I'm gonna take this spoon here. Cranman and Fish Chaser 67 put me onto this style of spoon. I forget the exact make. I bet you someone out there knows the make. For some reason I feel like the name Rocket somehow in there. Anyway, I'm gonna put a minnow on the end there. Send it down on the dead stick. All right, that's how I like to rig them, dead style. But I'm sure everybody's got their own way. So I think I saw posted somewhere, somebody said something about you're not allowed to chum anymore with biological parts or something like that, but vegetable matter was still okay. But people were saying like no eggs, no fish parts. Anybody else hear anything about that? Do you care? All right, so we got the dead stick down. So, yeah, it has been a slow bite for sure. Hook and a split shot. That's a good rig. Lots of people swear by that. Tingler spoon? Maybe, eh? You know what? I was just looking at a 4-Wheel Fishing t-shirt earlier today, and I was like, I should put that on. And then I walked out the door. It's one of those days, you know. That's probably what's happening here. I forgot the shirt. Now the fish aren't biting. Yeah, definitely the Williams wobbler. It definitely, you know, rolls around, creating like a lot of flash, especially the size of the one I've got. I think I must have bought it for lake trout fishing or something because it's a big daddy. Yeah, Jamie, you're just talking about the chum. Yeah, the use of corn. When I heard about this new rule, I was like, oh no, I hope this isn't gonna cramp in on my carp fishing, you know? Because a lot of times we do chum the water with like oatmeal and corn, but I never use fish. Guess that's not too bad, but I'm sure there's lots of people that do fish and chum water with salted minnows and whatnot. Yeah, yeah, apparently they say you can't, excuse me, can't chum with your minnows. You know, I once tried to chum with a can of cat food, and the results were not stellar, let me tell you. I don't think it affected the amount of fish around whatsoever. Looks like I got a minnow in my hole here. I mean, I just tossed it there. Where'd it go? There it is. So, I got let me show you what I got on this side here. Got one of these guys on, and it's in Creek Shiner coloration. I've had lots of luck with all sorts of different colors, like glowing ones, chartreuse ones, and then sometimes the only thing that'll work are these realistic looking ones, you know? Yeah, I mean, it would be funny if they had to drive around with underwater cameras to check your holes for chum, you know? Or maybe it would be the kind of thing, maybe they'd be watching from a distance with binoculars, they'd see you doing suspicious things over the hole, then they show up with the camera, put the camera in the bottom of the hole, inspect for chum, and then issue the ticket if they find it, you know? I believe, Darren, it is Ontario wide, but I could be wrong. That's an interesting idea, Jamie, with the minnows. Huh. Yeah, that's the one. You know, I've caught all sorts of stuff on the vibrato there. It's like they're very, I don't know, they are one of my favorites of the newer lures. I find that a lot of fish hit them, and even when I put on like a massive one, the perch love going for it. And I think it's one of the lures that I've had, one of the few lures that I've had where I've actually caught two fish at once a couple of times on them. Yeah, hopefully I can start catching some fish now that David Bennett is in the house. You know, I'd love to watch an underwater camera shot of the jar of minnows and the perch coming to check it out? You know, the vibrato strikes me as the kind of lure that is probably quite, quite likely to hook your, it's, there's a high chance you're going to hook yourself with it because of the way it's set up. I haven't done it, but it seems pretty lethal for that. I'm just going to give you guys a little view of this one hole here. Maybe I'll take a look. Well, yeah, look at the windows of my hut. We got the sunset going on out there. Sure you can't see it very well. So I'm just going to adjust some. Give me 1 second here. All right. So let's see. That looks like it looks a little better on the screen. So, has anyone else been out fishing as of late? Yeah, David Bennett just talking about the hut operators. I remember going to visit South River Resort there, and Steve was telling me about all the hilarious things he's found underneath the huts after people have left. Seems like the minnows would probably enjoy that, probably more than living in a bag in a fridge, living in a PVC pipe. I've tried LT Sam. I've tried a variety of Williams lures, actually. The Williams, is it Whitefish? Is that the one that's popular on Simcoe? Half and half. I remember going fishing on Simcoe and people were all like, oh yeah, I get the Williams half and half, hammered gold and silver. So I have a bunch of those. But I also have used some of the classic wobblers. What's going on, Struckus? It looks like you're having pretty good luck over there on in Calendar Bay, eh? If that's where you're fishing, I think. Yeah, these windows are all right, you know. Some of them got a little damaged as a result of, I don't know. It seemed to be like they're all crinkled up, like they got frozen or something. But you'd think that would be kind of weird for an ice hut to fall apart in that way. Welcome to the party, Nick Bruce. The bite is slow, buddy. The bite is slow, but you know we got the evening bite coming in, so you never know. They're just resting up for when the sun goes down, maybe. Thank you for liking the video. If you guys are watching, I didn't advertise this video very well because I was like, oh, I'll do it all from my phone. And then when I got out here, I'm like, uh-oh. It's a little more challenging to do from your phone than from a computer. Anyway, it seems like we got a good amount of folks coming in. Yeah, you know, I was out, well, the last live stream I did, it was pretty slow there too. Don't know what's the scoop. I was like, maybe I'll try closer to shore, but I was already pretty far out. But I'm thinking about it. Maybe next time. Two pike, eh? I haven't seen any pike yet this year. None yet. But probably I've been fishing the least amount of, you know, for a while. Busier these days, you know. I went fishing in the Bay of Quinte with my brother and his buddy John. We went in, I think it was the fall. So it was soft water fishing, you know. And we did catch a few walleye for sure. And we also caught some white perch. But I always see the monster fish they're always catching in the Bay of Quinte. I'm always like, yeah, I should go back down there sometime. Try some hard water fishing. Calendar, eh? Well, yeah, I gotta try some different spots around here. I mean, sometimes these spots are really good and sometimes they're garbage. It's an interesting idea with the pipe. Long Point Bay. How's that for fishing down that way? I haven't seen any mud puppies come in yet. Dax, still waiting. It's always something when they do. All right, so going over to this guy here. You know, the last time I was fishing, I was really jigging hard. Well, trying all sorts of jigs, I guess you'd say. And nothing was happening. And I threw on a rattle bait, and you could see on my radar a fish came in and kept following the lure around. It would only show up when the rattle bait was on. And he'd follow it around, never bite it. And then you throw on any other kind of lure and nothing shows up. I've tried a few places along 533 myself, Darren. Oh, I just had something stick. Come on, there's something down there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Come on. Oh, there's another bump. Come on. Go for it. These vibratos are very active. Very active when you do almost nothing. It's a good thing about looking. There we go. Okay, first fish. Oh, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Whoa, jeez. Whoa. Okay. Sorry, guys. Almost lost my phone down the hole. Let's see if I can get this guy out of the hole. Oh no! I hope you guys saw that. It's evidence that something happened. So that wasn't a keeper walleye. I'd probably put that guy at 16 or 17. He came up because he bit the lure. Then sorry, I'll stop shaking the camera here. He came up the hole. He was on the lure for sure, like he had bitten it. And then in the hole, it popped out of his mouth. And then hooked one of his fins. And that was about the time my phone fell over. And then I was about to use my spoon to try to scoop him out of the hole. And then I guess what happened was that he got completely off the hook himself and went back down the hole. It's exciting, you know, but at the same time, when well, it wasn't really a keeper fish anyway. Saved me the trouble of getting it off the hole, but I got all the excitement, you know. So I don't know how much of that you guys could see. On 533, I tried Timberlake and caught nothing. I also tried Crooked Lake, I think, and also caught nothing there. That was in the summer. How's it going, Dave Johnson? Yeah, every time I go to one of these trout lakes, I check on Fish Online to see what the stocking factor is, you know? And a lot of them are stocked, and I get there and I still catch nothing. So you think, oh, these lakes are stocked, but it's not always so simple, you know? Yeah, I've yet to be really any good at catching trout through the ice. I'd like to, though. My brother and I have tried a few places north of Sudbury. Hey, Jeff, I think the difference between the blizzards and the drifters, from what I can tell, and I think this is what I was told. Oh, there's definitely, is that a fish? I think, oh, there we go. Yeah, here comes another fish. Ooh, a nice jumbo. I think I'm gonna be keeping this one. If I can get my, easy. Oops. All right. There we go. A little snowy. De-snow fish. Maybe my luck's turning around now. Watching, just like he said. Well, that one's gonna go into the keeper pile, which at this moment is gonna be outside the tent. So let's get back to it here. You know, that's not a bad couple of fish. I thought my luck was shot. It's always nice when things start panning out a little bit. So I guess I didn't get around to it there, Jeff, but the difference between the blizzard and the drifter, I believe, is just this part here. You'll notice that there's a cover on the rod here and no cover on that. I think it's just a design difference, but I don't think it has anything to do with how they're built aside from that, but I could be wrong. Sorry, you know when you can tell that your lure's tangling itself? I can usually untangle it pretty easily. Yeah. You can usually untangle it pretty easily, or just by bouncing it around under the water without having to bring it up, but sometimes the hook gets into the swivel or whatever. It's not as easy. So there you go. Walleye lost at the hole and a perch. Jamie, to answer your question about from fishing structure or big open flats, pardon me. I'm definitely on the flats out here. Clam flats. Lots of clams. You can tell that from my underwater camera. More clams. Like it's probably got to be like 5 clams per square foot down there. Not sure what the appeal of that is. But I do know that I saw a bunch of herring the other day, and they kept opening their mouth and closing them like they were eating something. So I think they were eating something that was really small that was in the water, like hordes of scuds or something. Yeah, it seems to me on these flats, if there was structure, I would be fishing it. But out here, it's mostly flats. And it seems to be that the fish just show up when they're going to show up. But as long as you're out here, at some point, you'll catch a few fish, you know? I can't say the spot's like the best place in the world, but it's great for walking out too. Sometimes it can be amazing too. I do have the Navionics app. I use it all the time for all sorts of stuff, land and sea. I think it's great. Yeah, it's definitely having the clam flip up here. I've got a choice to like move around. So I have all these different spots marked around, and I you know, gives me hope. When the fishing's slow, I'll be like, oh, I'll just try one of these other spots that I found. But I can't say there's much to them aside from probably on that moment of that day when I was there, it was lucky. Bud muppies. I've never tried that kind of rod, Nathan. I'll have to look that one up. On 533, Darren, I did both timber and crooked, and I did poorly on both lakes. Oh, sorry, it looks like there might have been some action down there that I wasn't paying attention to. Just gonna check my dead stick here. Oh, minnow's gone. All right. Yep, minnow was gone on the dead stick there. So we're in about 16 feet of water. Yeah, that's cool, Dave. David Johnson. I usually find that which is a good feed for sure for a whole bunch of people. So keeping 6 is good for a fish fry. Okay. Quick release. Yeah, it's interesting when you get fish coming in and it's like walleye, perch, instead of just walleye, 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 or perch, perch, perch. Seems like they're all hanging around each other down there. So far, Maddie C. Sorry, I seem to be really behind on these messages, and I thought I was ahead. Sorry. So Maddie C. So far, I've caught one walleye, which I lost at the hole while clowning around, and one jumbo perch, which is now waiting for the fryer. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm also, Darren, I'm not the wizard of trout fishing, especially ice fishing for trout. In fact, I don't think I've ever caught one, aside from lake trout. Lake trout I did okay on, but I've never caught brook trout or splake through the ice. I've had some luck, like long line trolling them in the spring. In fact, that's most of the time when I've ever had luck catching splake and stuff like that. Crooked Lake there was like, when I was there, you have to sort of travel through this sort of greasy spot before you get to the rest of the lake. There were people there building a cottage, and that was about the only other people on the lake. Sorry, you guys keep seeing my hand in some weird way. Welcome to the party, Skivens. I was watching your video there of you catching the critter in your attic. And I totally thought that it must have been a raccoon because he was like flipping traps, stealing your bait. And I was kind of surprised when it ended up being a squirrel. On my other line there, Russell, I've got a spoon with a live minnow on it. I might simplify that and just put a jig in a minnow, but we'll see. Yeah, the spot where you launch on Crooked Lake it's like you're plowing through weeds that are just, from the bottom of the lake all the way to the top. So it's a little tricky, but if you're ice fishing, it's a different game. But you got to make sure you don't try to fish. Well, maybe you could. Who knows? Maybe there are fish in that weedy spot. Who knows? See, a lot of the perch that I've opened up, Struckus, they have snails, lots of snails. I don't think I've ever seen one with a crayfish or bugs. I've got a stash of these tiny tungsten jig heads somewhere, and I'm not sure where I put them. But I meant to come out early today and like really put some time in on some perch fishing because I haven't seen like a big pile of them come in yet. But a lot of times I've had some pretty big piles come in middle of the day. Let's see, what are we going to put on now? I'm going to put on a rattler. Let's see if this drums them up. Pretty sure I've used this before. It's one of my favorites. I can't resist running these lures as much as I can. I haven't ever actually bled out any of the fish I've ever caught. No, Jamie. Yeah, I keep on thinking I should give it a shot. It's probably the best way to roll for sure. I think probably the best way, well, when you're ice fishing, it's one thing. When you're fishing in the summer, it seems like, you know, probably clubbing and bleeding your fish and then putting them right on ice would probably be the best way to keep them. So you wonder, like, you put them in a live well or whatever, then they get all stressed out. Release. Catch and release into the grease. I've heard that one a few times, eh? That's a good one. Stayed home from work to watch the show, eh? Well, let's hope, Dave, that the fish come back here. That was pretty sweet. Pretty sweet little flurry going on there. Might have to get a light going. Yeah, I do like those Lakers. I go ice fishing for them. I've gone on Rosso a couple of times. Definitely there are some trout in the Muskokas. Yeah, sorry, Ken. I didn't do a great job at posting stuff for this video, unfortunately. I guess what happened was I usually set it all up on a computer and, share it around to a bunch of places. And then this time I'm like, I'm going to do it all from my phone and I'm just going to run it out on the ice. And then I realized that posting things to certain different things was a little more challenging from a computer. So I only sort of shared this on my Facebook. But I'm gonna be trying to do this every Thursday. So, I mean, I'm sure everybody has figured that. Who knows what's gonna happen. Gonna try to do it every Thursday, but who knows? I might have something comes up. I got to switch days, but Thursday's the day. Thanks, David Tronchin. Appreciate that. Yeah, I've seen those Mr. Twister jigs. The little nymphs. I think I got a bunch of them. I believe I used to use them a lot when trying to fish for trout. Or maybe I bought them for using with trout and never really used them with trout. That happens too. Boy, it's a tough choice. Trying to give these jigging wraps. Whoops. Sorry, guys. There we go. Trying to give these jigging wraps more of a run. I know I've been using this one a lot. I've got a few things on it. Makes the meat white, eh? Yeah, I'm gonna have to give that a shot, guys. Bleeding the fish. I'll have to watch maybe a YouTube video on how it's done properly. I think I've seen it. It seems pretty simple. I would definitely, Brad, recommend sriracha sauce for pike. I was putting it on walleye, lake trout, like in place of the egg, and then roll it in your powdered batter. Very tasty. Yep, Maddie C. My video on this fish finder actually has the most amount of views of any video I've ever made. A lot of people really like this finder. It's pretty wild. I would consider the Panoptics if I had won the lottery. But it'll be a while before I can gather the shekels to make that seem like a reasonable purchase to me. Yeah, a lot of people are hyped about the bang for your buck with this fish finder for sure. The season on Nipissing closes, the last day is the 15th of March, I believe, unless they changed it. It's usually when it is. Yeah, definitely panfish, like with the trout like. Rip the gills out, eh? That's a good idea. Do a video on that. I need to catch more than one fish. But it'd be an interesting test. Yeah, definitely. It seems like it works really well on any kind of fish there, Brad. It's very tasty. I put it on my fish as an egg substitute because I had forgotten actual eggs on a camping trip, and then after that I was just like, this is great. Do you have just a regular cat or a super fluffy cat, Jamie? I think that's a good idea, David. I'm gonna actually, like I was thinking to put a minnow on here. We had a very brief flurry where I caught a walleye and then a perch. And then that passed. The walleye actually didn't get into the shack. He was at the hole. I've got a minnow on here now. It's funny, David, when I was fishing with Cranman and Fish Chaser 67, which are two guys from the Nipissing fishing board there, they like to use just the head of the minnow instead of the tail. But I was like, would you ever try using these tails? And they were just like, no, just the heads. So it's interesting that you like using the tail. Yeah, those Panoptics are huge. The rip and wrap, yeah, it's a classic lure. My brother uses them a lot. I have a bunch of them, but I have all sorts of other rattlers too that sort of that make a lot of noise as well. Sorry, I think the aliens zapped my brain there again for a second. I have an underwater camera, Maddie C. The unfortunate thing is on Nipissing, it's super murky down there. And I can tell you that some days it's like hard to see anything, but when the sun starts going down, it's really hard to see. And when you turn on the light that's on the camera, it makes it sort of just look like you're shining your headlights into a fog of different kinds of debris. That sounds like a cool way to set up the Striker 4 there, eh? Cooler. Yeah, mine came with the bag and the kit and stuff like that, so. Yeah, that is the problem, Maddie C. I have found on different days it can be clear down there, but the best results I get with the camera from using it midday when there's lots of sun on the lake. How far were you able to see, Russell, with your underwater camera there? And which one do you have? Hmm. Yeah, I've had a few cats clue into my channel, including my own. I think fishing, if you think about it, like rapidly moving strings, stuff like that, even like lures probably look pretty attractive to cats. So they see that on the TV. I'm sure it's pretty appealing to them. So you put the tail of the minnow on the back hook, eh? And not the treble hook on the bottom. I guess it makes sense as far as well, let's hope Skivens that in those 8 minutes they really start hammering. Seems like the radar isn't showing too much. The family's doing well. David, the boy is he always amazes me, and he keeps on coming up with games and things to do that are just really neat to observe. So I took him fishing a week or two ago, and we sat in the ice hut and fished. We caught a few perch. He didn't catch anything himself, but he just liked, winging the bobber around and stuff like that. And ever since then, his favorite toy to have around the house is this old beat up fishing rod that I set up for him with a bobber and, of course, a lure with no hooks on it. And he walks around the house and carries that around. He wants to jig in the corners of the room, like constantly. So, and he also, he wants me to read him the book called Ice Fishing Secrets. It's a bedtime story. I don't know if I mentioned that before. But it seems like the kid's starting to like fishing. I'm like, oh, damn, he's starting to like fishing. One day I'll be saying to my wife, sorry, but I wouldn't be going fishing this weekend, but Owen says he wants to go, so we gotta go. So I'm looking forward to fishing with that guy in the future, quite possibly over the weekend. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times when I'm placing a hook on a lure, I definitely think about the fact that a lot of fish eat other fish head first. So I usually try to put my hook close to the head. I've had pretty good luck just casting casting ripping wraps in the summertime for walleye. They seem to like that. Just gonna fire on a light here. Forgot to charge my big light. Let's hope this one does a little bit of illumination. Great. Come on. I don't know if that helps anything, but whatever. Let's check this dead stick here. See, every time I see a mud puppy, I think about the fact that they're enormous. You know? They are a very big salamander. What's the biggest one you guys have caught? Because the last one I caught, I'm going to say it was like the size of my forearm. Maybe that's an exaggeration, though. Pardon my French there. Stuff is falling all over the place. Oop. Gonna fire on my headlamp. Okay. Sorry for the delay here. Just having got a little bit of paint in the eye of a jig. So I'm dropping down, jig, minnow combo. Okay. Yeah, it's hard not to fish those ripping wraps aggressively, I can tell you. All those rattling baits, I love just ripping them hard. Feeling the rattle going down. Wow. Jig and wrap. So I've been watching these videos of all these guys that are catching, like going out to different parts of North America and catching Cisco, Big Daddy Cisco. And when I was looking at them, I was like, wow, we've got some pretty big ones here on Nipissing. There were some guys from Simcoe that were catching the herring, and they seemed like they were kind of just like big smelt, you know? Yep, Skivens, this fish finder is a fine score. I find with the rattlers, I like to rattle them up super duper high. like If I was standing outside, I'd probably be reaching with the rod like 10 feet in the air. So rising the lure way up and then letting it like fall down while keeping a fairly tight line as it falls. And then just once it gets to the bottom, the end of your line, it just goes bump and just sits there. And then that's when I find the fish, especially perch. That's when they like to nail it. Something about that fall, that free fall right into their lap after a really loud rip. They like that. Yeah. I like what Darren's saying there. Rip it up, let it sit for a while, shake it for a bit, sit for a while. It seems like a pretty appropriate order, yeah. Yeah, I do find a lot of times that there's fish that do really enjoy the noisy lures, and they'll take some pretty wild shots at it even when it's super aggressive. But a lot of times it's a combination of a super aggressive approach and then just like let it sit for a long time, and they get drawn over by the crazy rattle, and then they find it sitting there, and then boom, fish on. I've had crazy times when a whole school of perch will come in and I've got this massive rattle bait on, and you can hear them like tapping at it. It's it's a loud rattle, but it really would get going. Private lake outside of Orangeville, eh? Trying to think. I mean, I'm from that area, so I'm trying to think of what that lake would be. Aquaview. I usually, on my end of the lake here, it seems like I'm usually getting about 5 feet of visibility around that. I have seen clearer days, though, that's for sure. How's it going? People new? TC fishing? I'd rather be fishing. I haven't heard anything about lifting the lockdown, unfortunately. Yeah, I walked out here, Skivens. I got to make a trip. Hopefully, when this lockdown lightens up, my brother can show up and we can make a little rip around on a snowmobile out somewhere else, Yeah, I was thinking about trying shallower. There is the only piece of structure nearby here is like this little mound that goes from, I guess it would be like 8 feet of water up to 6, and then down to 12 or 15. Yeah, definitely. The more the boys around, the more I'm like, I'm not taking enough pictures of this guy. Although it seems like I'm constantly, hanging out with them, doing stuff, making sure I get pics of them. But it's crazy how fast he grows. It's crazy. I'm sure anybody who's had a kid knows what I'm talking about. You're just like, wow, this guy was like a burrito like a year ago, and now he's running around and, roughing up all my stuff. This He gave this tripod that I have right now, that I have the phone on, the treatment the other day, so it's a little bit difficult to operate now. Yeah, the only I had no problem with Brad. Sorry, Brad, I'm addressing you here. I had no problem with Owen dealing with the minnows, but he was kind of stirring them a little vigorously. So I had to just sort of, advise him to not stir the minnows as hard as he was. Struck us this. I see this comment here, made me laugh. Except the booty fish. Eat it tail first. It's good. I don't know any perfect, or pardon me, I don't know anyone specifically, Brad, but there are definitely some tutorials for cleaning pike. I've done it a few times. There's definitely a couple of videos. There you go. There you go. Struck has helped you out. What lake are you going to, Jamie, for those whitefish? Thanks, Lawrence. I haven't really used the zoom function on my striker. Tony, we're out on the north shore of Nipissing here. Caledon Lake, eh? We had a short flurry there, Outdoor Dave, where a perch bit and a walleye bit in close proximity to each other. And then the bite slowed down to nil. Oh, there was a bite. Shoot. Come on. So you start seeing some things on your radar. Oh, here we go. Bite it. Come on. Oh, what is it? He's down there. Man, there's some. Okay, there he is. So there's definitely, I don't know, you guys probably can't. Oh, it's probably a micro perch. this one here. I definitely had a few taps there. Oh, well, it's definitely getting taps. It must be a tiny perch. Yeah. A lot of times I'm like, oh, what damage can he possibly do to this tripod? And then next thing you know, I look at it, I'm like, okay, this handle's missing. It no longer extends this way. I'm like, wow, how do you do this so quick? You know, Jamie, I appreciate you asking me for advice. I I'm definitely not the best guy to ask about whitefish, but if I had to give you any kind of tip, it would be to fish in a spot where you have some kind of shoal beside fairly deep water. Like if it comes up to 30 and it's 100 feet of water all around it, I'd say that's a good bet. Perch are definitely the kind of fish that some days they'll just show up, peck at your bait, peck at your minnow, steal your minnow, and leave. It's happened more than once. Fred Val, welcome to the party. Yeah, there's definitely lots of burbot on Nip, that's for sure. David, there's been some real monsters that have come out of here over the years. I think the biggest one I caught was maybe like 4 or 5 pounds. Actually, that wasn't me that caught it. It was my brother that caught it. That was probably the biggest one I've seen. I've seen some pretty decent ones though. Come on, are you a fish? That could be a mud puppy. I watched a mud puppy go after my lure once on my camera. I'm surprised they managed to eat anything. They just move so slow, and then just sort of get their gums on whatever you got and sort of gnaw at it. They're not a particularly impressive predator. The pull I got on here, Matt, is the Masuta Fishing Blizzard. These rods are nicely designed, pretty high class. I still need to get myself one of these dinner bells, Shannon. I keep on looking at them online. A lot of times they're like, we're out of them. Okay, so here's the deal. I got to roll because the hour is up. It's not because I want to roll, it's just because, you know, data restrictions and I'm starting to get hungry. So, not a bad evening bite. There was definitely a few moments I thought it was going to be, you know, crap, but it seemed like it panned out. So thanks for joining me this week. I'm going to turn the camera around. Okay, right on. So thanks for coming out. It's been swell. I'm going to go in and eat dinner, like I said. And I better get rolling. See how the boys doing, whatnot. So catch me next week. Hopefully we'll catch more fish, you know? Yeah, have yourselves a great night.